Oh, hey gang, last session, part five, I did a whirlwind session about the development of the monetary system in the US. It's actually much more complicated, and I've written much more about that that'll be available later. If you really want to read about it, you can read a great book by a guy named Unger, a very scholarly work called The Greenback Error. And that's where I got a lot of my information from on the development of the monetary system after the Civil War. We've been talking about how silver has been money for thousands of years. It was money in the early days of the American experiment. And so you might ask a question today, is silver still money today? Does anybody still use silver? Well, you use coins today, but they're not made out of silver. I showed you the difference between a Kennedy half dollar from 1964 and a Kennedy half dollar from 1971. Up until 1964, the coins in the US were still dimes, quarters, half dollars, silver dollars. You could still get them at that time. 90% pure silver. So what happened? They dropped it all, demonetized. So what does that mean for silver? What does that mean for coins? Well, you could still use silver coins. It just depends on who you ask. So I conducted a little experiment. I have a really modest coin collection that my mother left for me. And so I've got a handful of what they call junk silver, which are old silver coins. They're all legal tender, a quarter's worth, 25 cents in the US. But the ones before 1964 have 90% silver content. And so as just kind of a social experiment, I've taken these to the farmer's market and I've tried to barter them for goods, whatever the vendor was selling. And it was very interesting, when I approached the guy selling sort of Middle Eastern food. I don't know where he's from. He was Arabic speaking. Maybe he's from Lebanon or Iraq, some other place where he immigrated to the US. He's selling Lebanese food. And I offered him silver coins. He did not bat an eye or hesitate a second. I'm sure he was thinking, sure, buddy, I'll take your silver. You don't know what this is worth. I knew at the time he definitely got the better deal. I did this months ago, and silver has shot up in value since then. When I approached older Americans, like the guy selling wine from Connecticut, I said, "Hey, I'm interested in a bottle of wine. I have these silver coins. Would you be interested in taking these for your bottle?" Didn't even want to discuss it. He just looked at me and said, no, we don't take that. I take a credit card. And maybe he thought I was trying to scam him, which I'm not. But then I also came across some younger people, both men and women. And when I just showed them this and explained a little bit about the silver contents, and at one time this was money, and these are worth more money. The spot price at the time when I was doing this was about $30. And I said, so for a quarter and a dime, would you accept this for my lunch and my dessert? And the young people warmed up to it pretty quickly, especially if they got to hold the things. If they got to hold a bullion coin or hold some of these, I showed them the difference between a copper-clad coin and a 90% silver coin. They were like, "Yeah, sure. This is really cool. I'll take silver." So I bought my lunch, my dessert. One day I bought flowers from my wife with just some junk silver coins I had lying around. So, an interesting social experiment. Silver is potentially still money, just depends who you ask and maybe the circumstances. Okay, so that's part six. Is silver still money today? I'm going to do one more installment, part seven. Stay tuned for that.